Welcome to another episode of The Bar is Ankle High. I am Garrett.
I'm Katie.
Today... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, this is episode 6.
Yes, episode 6 in our ADHD series. And a couple more of these for you. A few more episodes on these, and then we'll move on to some other topics. Planning some spoopy things for you for this Halloween season. We're very cool. So today, before we get into content things about today's topic, I do want to briefly touch on something we discussed last week. And Katie asked me a question that I didn't have an answer to. So to follow up on the concrete mixing truck situation, Katie asked me what makes it spin. It turns out, because I definitely did not go onto YouTube and watch multiple videos on concrete mixing trucks.
No, that would be crazy.
That would be a crazy thing to do. I guess we could call this the weekly hyperfixation item.
It's true.
There is a hydraulic pump at the base, and it spins the drum, and then the drum at the top, there's bearings, and they keep it on track. There's also an external water tank that feeds water with a hose up into the drum.
So it doesn't get dried?
Yeah, so it keeps it the perfect wetness, and then there's...
I would love if you never said that phrase again.
And
Seeing
then
as I am covered in wetness from your bidet.
It would be worth mentioning Katie had a very unfortunate accident in our bathroom.
Listen, the toilet tried to eat me. There was nothing I could do. But the good news is that Garrett does not need to mop for at least a month in that room anymore.
I can't say I haven't done the same thing, so no judgment. I mean, if the listeners judge you, that's totally their thing. It's not on me.
Yeah, I only had a moment of thinking that I was projectile pissing on myself.
Fortunately for everyone.
Thankfully, it was cold water, so I managed to piece that together quickly.
I guess I should have mentioned that there was a highly sensitive bidet on that toilet at some point. I did neglect to inform anybody of that.
I mean, I am aware. I've just also used that toilet 50 times and
Yeah.
never had an issue. So.
Yeah, that's a toilet you can't trust. It's
Noted.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with that toilet, so it's always kind of a gamble, I guess. So if I know that I'm gonna need some certainty to my toilet, I will use the other bathroom.
The one that the contractors christened for you?
Yes. Side note that I feel like is briefly worth mentioning. We recently had I guess during COVID, we had a bathroom redone. And we had to have the door reversed. So the hinges were put on the other side of the door so it opened the other way. And my husband, during the day, went up to see how things were going and opened the bathroom door thinking that there had been all these changes to the door, so it was fair game to pull it open, not thinking that there would be somebody pooping in the bathroom.
On the brand new toilet.
On the toilet that was installed literally that morning. The two items on the agenda were the toilet and the door that day. And
I also love, though, that his reaction to opening the door and seeing a strange man
yes,
desecrating his new toilet.
Brand new
just
toilet.
To freeze and make eye contact.
Yeah, he didn't really know. I think it was one of those, it's taking your brain a second to process what you're actually seeing. So he just opened the door and made eye contact with this man. And they just held each other's gaze for a minute before the guy went, "Hey."
But in that minute of silence, angels sang, the skies opened.
Just pooping and looking, and pooping and looking.
That's a country song.
It is. If it's not yet, it is to be.
Yeah.
So
maybe Weird Al will start using our podcast for content ideas.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be great.
Between Gravy Train, and then in my head it's that, like, wishing and hoping and thinking and praying, but it's like pooping and staring and staring.
And breathing.
You will be his.
He's really going to hate this when he hears it. He's really going to hate it. I personally am loving it. So yes, we took you down that little trail.
If we ever do live shows, it'll just be like psycho karaoke.
That is kind of, it's like those, it's like Wheel of Fortune, you know, where they're like pulling this giant wheel and it's like, what's it gonna land on? Awkward story? Nope. Scary no. Confused. How did we get here? We don't know. We were talking about the mixing truck.
Yeah, sorry.
And I only know that because I have notes in front of me. If I didn't have that, we would really be lost. I wouldn't know how we got there.
Yeah. This very easily could have been one of our Patreon episodes. If you have loved the intro to this episode, folks, you gotta sign up for our Patreon, because those episodes are, like, I don't know, cracked out chaos.
They're us when we don't have notes. Yes. And we're winging it. And man, do we really wing it.
Yeah. It's the us that birthed this podcast.
It's a gif of a little kid swinging at a ball in baseball and completely missing the ball and then spinning in a circle and falling over. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely...
And then laughing so hard
never
they barf.
done that. Yes, or fart. One of the two. So, yeah, the concrete mixing trucks are a feat of modern engineering. I think it's amazing. Big props to whoever invented that. Of course, in the process of looking up all this shit about concrete mixing trucks, do you think I looked up, like, who first patented it? No. So, stay tuned, because I'm sure there's going to be more to this. Also, I was a little vindicated. The part of the mixing truck that I was calling the poop chute is actually called a chute. So, I really was not base.
Other than what fills it.
Yeah. Instead of poop, it's concrete.
Also, just patreon.com/thebarsankleHigh.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Or the link is on our website.
Join our Patreon.
thebarsankleHigh.com.
It's something Katie can tell you about, but I am terrified of. So sign up.
You're going to join our Patreon.
Oh, I also have to join our Patreon. That reminds me, because we had a conversation about that a week ago, and then I forgot.
Patreon's not scary.
Yeah, you're right. It's totally not scary. I'm just scared of it.
Right.
Oh, man. So, excessive activity, restlessness, hyperactivity. I personally sometimes feel like I have so much energy that, I don't know, energy, tension. I feel like my body is like just electric.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes I use the restlessness as a coping mechanism when I'm feeling, unsure or anxious or stressed.
What do you mean?
By what part?
You said you use it as a coping mechanism.
The excessive activity, the restlessness, like I do when I'm feeling anxious.
You act on the restless feeling.
Yes. So when my body feels like it's vibrating, I feel like the only thing I can do is like move, or I'm going to explode.
Okay.
Basically.
Got it.
Oh, and yeah, that's my next note. So yeah, I approach that feeling with, I usually refer to it as like toxic productivity. So I'm cleaning, I'm organizing, I'm tidying, I'm cooking, I'm baking, I'm walking, I'm starting a project. I'm literally like searching for things. So I'm like one step below pacing. I will
my mom.
Look for things to do to keep myself busy instead of just, I don't know, breathing maybe for starters.
Yeah, fair.
So, and this is a common thing with people with ADHD. And it seems to be like there's a spectrum of how this represents in people. So some people are like understimulated and get bored and that it's all kind of balled up, like the hyperactivity, the inattention, the impatience, the impulsivity, like that nudginess feeling. So there's lots of people who have this understimulation, boredom, that nudginess, and I feel like they're kind of all linked in together, like the hyperactivity, inattention, impatience, impulsivity, kind of a very similar, like that type of ADHD kind of gravitates together. And we've talked about before, ADHD brains constantly seeking stimulation, that like dopamine.
Right.
Actually, my note says, dopamine, baby! So that ADD, the Attitude magazine, that online publication, had a great article on ADHD and stimulation. They said ADHD brains struggle to sustain motivation when rewards are mild or linked to long-term gratification. As a result, ADHD brains search for stimulation that can increase dopamine more quickly and intensely. So kids, especially in girls, like I was very chatty in class. It's not necessarily outwardly disruptive, but like if one of my friends was next to me, I would totally start conversations with my friends all the time.
What do you mean? We have not run into that at work.
That's never happened before. So they would put me next to people that I like wasn't friends with.
Yeah.
Because I was considered a distraction. And, you know, also in the era of punishing and embarrassing instead of finding ways to, like, work with it or work around it.
Yeah.
Just making me feel bad.
Literally just talking about this with my hairdresser today because, hi, Anna. She was saying that she requested to be evaluated in middle school and, you know, asked her mom about it, and I guess her mom was very supportive, which is great. But, you know, I was saying how my brother and my mom have this excessive activity side of ADHD, like, very clearly. My mom does the over-cleaning thing that you do. Like, by 7 a.m. every Saturday morning, vacuuming, dishes, everything. So, like, I'm naturally a morning person because I was never offered the opportunity to sleep in. But, like, I'll get up. I just won't do anything for 3 hours. Like, I still don't do any of my chores until, like, 9 or 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But I can't sleep in. And I think it's because my
why.
body was like, no, you can't
You're
do
doing
it.
what?
Right. But my mom always did that all the time. But I was telling my therapist, I was telling my hairdresser.
Sometimes the same thing.
Yes. That I think part of why it took me so long to be diagnosed is because comparatively, I was not super active,
right?
Like hyperactive physically. But I said to my I said to my hairdresser, that I would always get in trouble for talking in class and get separated from my friends in class, like constantly.
Yes.
But I think
every report card.
Yes. But I was like, you know, not for nothing, but it is kind of like the patriarchy being like, well, girls are just chatty. Like, it wasn't seen as like a sign of ADHD or a sign of something else going on. It was like, girls are just gossipy.
Yes. And they use that, the stereotypical symptoms are all really geared around boys' symptoms. They're not like daydreaming. Girls and ADHD, that's like a cornerstone. I still do it, but especially as a kid, oh my God, looking out the window and daydreaming, or looking at a piece of paper but not thinking about, what I was looking at. Daydreaming all the time.
I've told you this before, I'm pretty sure, but I got in trouble in 7th grade in my English class because that thong song was popular at the time. And in the same line of not understanding lyrics, I knew the lyrics to the thong song. I did not understand those lyrics.
You mean dumps like a truck wasn't making sense for you?
No, because what I drew was a giant pile of shit next to a dump truck. And my teacher got mad and took it away from me. But I was really proud of that drawing. She also looked at me like I was deranged.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't... It is very much like out of, like, a movie or something where somebody, like there's a clear miscommunication between two people, and one person is, like, very, like, oh, what's the problem? And the other person's like, what is the matter with you?
Yes.
Like...
It's that thing we were just talking about on Always Sunny, where Dennis thinks he's going to his dad's business meeting.
Yes.
And his dad was speaking in a metaphor that he was going to have sex with a sex worker.
Yeah.
And ultimately Dennis wound up watching his dad with a sex worker.
Because Dennis said he wanted to watch his dad do business.
Yes. That's what I do when I say I'm doing business.
It's like...
like one of those.
In Monty Python and the Holy Grail, when they're at the wedding.
Yes, I do. You don't even have to... Yes, I know that part.
And the guards have the ribbons in their hair, and they're just, like, smiling and nodding.
Yeah.
Sir Lancelot, like, comes through, like, what are you doing here? Yeah, my teacher was Sir Lancelot, and I was the guard with the ribbons hanging like from the side of my helmet.
Gleefully looking around at, look at the celebration.
Flowers on my scepter.
Dumps like a truck. And your teacher's like, what is happening?
She's like, you're not good at English, it turns out. Language arts is not for you.
It's not your strength. You should pursue things elsewhere.
Yeah, take this home ec quiz and find out that you're supposed to be a member of the clergy.
Shout out to my, I don't know, it must have been 9th grade guidance counselor who told me math was clearly not my strong suit with an 88 of a grade. Still mad about that. It's been a lot of years. She was not nice to me. Not nice to me.
That is some bullshit. I would have killed for an 88 in math.
Yeah, I was like, you know what?
My mother would have killed for me to get an 88 in math.
I was never great at math, so I was really happy with that. And when she said that to me, it totally knocked my confidence. I was like, oh, I guess I'm bad at math. And then had myself in my head.
Yeah, it's a
internalized.
Predetermined outcome at that point.
Yeah. Really
which I'm very powerful in doing that for myself.
Clearly, I excel at that.
On either end of that spectrum.
Good or bad. Something very intense and premeditated is going to happen.
Yes.
And another thing that they list for girls with ADHD is emotionally sensitive, which I've always been that way. There was an article so that kind of like led me down this bit of a side quest here about girls and ADHD and the differences. And a couple of like high points that I did want to mention. One is there was an article on the National Library of Medicine. And when I'm saying girls and women, I'm talking like cisgender girls and women. ADHD symptoms can be exacerbated by hormonal changes during menstrual cycle, pregnancy, and menopause. And hormones can also impact the medication that you're taking. It can affect the efficacy, but when I tried to figure out in what ways, they were talking about estrogen and progesterone. But then it got very confusing figuring out who was the control group, who was the ADHD group.
So they were saying that estrogen and progesterone that AFABs normally produce during their monthly cycle will augment the efficacy of ADHD medication.
And impact the severity of your pre-existing symptoms of ADHD.
Interesting.
Yes. And... which we talked about.
That's some bullshit, by the way. What the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like how none of these medical trials are like even done on women a lot of the time. So we're just basing things on standards for like male cisgender bodies.
Yeah. The studies that I've read have not delineated between male and female participants for the most part.
Which is nuts because the symptoms are very different. I mean, lots of overlap, sure, but there are some distinguishing.
Yeah, and I do wonder if I saw something actually on the National Institute of Mental Health's website, they were like, you can volunteer to be in a study. And I'm like, you should probably be eliciting more participants. Like, maybe reach out to people's physicians and say, hey, if you have a patient that you think we should include in this study about ADHD or ADHD and menstruation or whatever. I don't know how that works, but listener, if you happen to be in those fields.
If you work in the, I don't know, medical study field.
Right.
Hey, work on testing anything on women. Maybe something instead of nothing.
And stop accepting side effects as the norm for women's medications.
Oh, bad side effects. Like life-disrupting side effects. Yeah. It's some bullshit.
Yeah. I'm really sick of hearing that every time I take a medication, I'm going to have a stroke.
Yeah. Or it might impact my menstruation. Real casual. Or you have a side effect and you ask about it and everybody's like, yeah, dummy, you didn't know that it did this? No.
Yeah, shockingly, I did not read the encyclopedia of information that the pharmacist handed me with this fucking booklet. Why would I?
Turns out, I'm not the medical professional in this scenario.
Yeah. As I told my math teacher in high school, and it has frequently come back to bite me in the ass, I'm going to be a lawyer, so I don't need to worry about math because I'll just hire an accountant to do it for me.
Again, there we go with that.
In a similar way, I hire a doctor and a pharmacist to read this shit for me.
I also hire the numbers guy.
Yeah,
because I don't number.
Update, I do have a CPA. And I've had one since I was 17.
So joke's on you, math teacher. I'm also not building roller coasters because I feel like that's one that they used to sell people a lot. Oh, if you build roller coasters, you need math every day. Did you ever get that? No.
Oh. Did you tell somebody that you wanted your job to be roller coaster builder?
No, just that I didn't like math and
I did like playing Roller Coaster Tycoon on my computer as a kid.
I never had that game.
Oh man, I fucking loved it. I loved it more than The Sims.
I played the fuck out of The Sims. I got back into The Sims a few years ago and I had to step out very slowly and back away from it.
I tried to play it on my phone recently.
It's not the same.
It's not. I don't like it. Also, there's no cheat codes. What the fuck?
Yeah,
I can't rosebud my way to money, which sounds so dirty in the days of OnlyFans.
If I can't just mash that rosebud key 100 times and get myself $1 million.
Smash that rosebud and subscribe.
While we're at it, follow us on social media. We did on a previous episode talk about emotional dysregulation. That was one of my episodes. Yeah. Turns out that is a very common symptom with women and girls. And it's worse. It's more pronounced in women and girls than it is in
That makes sense, because I also feel like women and girls are taught to sit still and
totally
hyperactivity or activity in general from young boys is accepted as the norm.
Right.
So it's certainly not as extreme as the Duggars and their fucking blanket training bullshit, but
horrific.
I do think that we, for better or worse, teach girls quiet hobbies historically.
Yes.
So it's a lot harder to fit us into categories when it comes to classic, in the largest quotes, classic ADHD symptoms. Because I don't feel like I'm very hyperactive.
I didn't think I was until we did this podcast, and it turns out
surprise.
I was like, for sure, I am inattentive. Inattentive is that's my thing. Short attention span, trouble focusing. That's my symptom that I associate with the most. And then when we looked at the inattentive versus the hyperactive versus or I'm not sure if it's actually hyperactive versus the combination, I was like, joke's on me. Turns out I'm hyperactive too. I don't remember being hyperactive as a kid, but my hyperactivity was in daydreaming. It was in talking to people. I mean,
I was for sure the class clown, I think. Yeah. But very proud of it, so I didn't see it as a problem. And I always wanted to do really well in sports. Like, my 5th grade class, we played kickball every day, and our teacher was the pitcher.
Yeah.
Like, every day. Snow. The only time we wouldn't play was the rain. And so we each had teams, and, like, fuck, I wanted to be the best. Like, I got really good at it, and I also got pneumonia from it. But turns out you really should wear winter coats, kids.
Even if you're hot. So we also primarily did kickball. Can I tell you?
Yes.
I did not become an athletic person until adulthood. As a kid, I was not athletic. I attempted to kick the ball really, really super hard in kickball one day, and in the process, jumped over the top of the ball.
You Charlie Browned yourself?
I did. Like, I jumped up and, like, kicked, but I jumped, like, I must have jumped in the air. I just completely jumped over the top of the ball. And I think even when
that is some Elise Myers shit.
When my foot came back, I think I kicked it backwards. So not only did I not kick it and jumped over it, I then kicked it the wrong direction.
Tagged yourself out.
I did. It was, like, I remember kicking so hard, like, I almost hurt myself. So
I'm glad that
it's so
doesn't haunt you.
My mom will still make fun of me for this. She's like, "Hey, do you remember that story about when you jumped over?" There's actually a gif of a little kid, and he kicks. I'll find it one day. He goes to kick something, misses it, missteps, does this like 3 different steps trying to right himself, never does it, and falls over. My mom's like, "Oh my God, that's you," and it's true. So yeah, I was
extremely clumsy.
Yes.
As a child. And I agree, I did not identify as athletic more because of body issues than anything else.
Oh, also that. I mean,
but it turns out that I'm really good at every sport I try.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really good at golf, and I'm really good at, like, I was good at running, I was good at Orange Theory, I'm really good at all that stuff. Because I am athletic, I'm just also a round girl.
Irrelevant.
Oh, that's probably temporary. So
I went the other way with it. I knew I was not athletic, and then wore it as I tried to be as like a 10-year-old, like very punk rock about it, and be like, well, fuck you, I don't want to play sports anyway, sports are fucking dumb. And I maintained that for quite a long time until, I don't know, a few years ago.
It's wild, because, like, looking back, I'm like, oh, there really wasn't too much time where I wasn't doing an activity. Like, we had Taekwondo, and then middle school I didn't really do much, but then I did cheerleading and gymnastics and field hockey, and then I did rugby in law school. Like, I generally do find things that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And
I do that now.
Yeah.
I just never did that as a kid. But I think also I was very self-conscious of being, like, a chubbier kid and, like, not being as athletic. So I then, like, completely shied away from it and didn't try anything and didn't put myself out there and was, like, very shy as far as... I mean, I think in some ways I still am. Like, I still want to do several dry runs of something on my own before I do anything with anybody else, because I want to feel like I have some competence, because I'm still, like... I still have a complex about that. Doing really well with my anxiety today. Anxiety's going great.
The great news is that you were really good at golf the first time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I keep trying to talk myself into rollerblading. I broke my arm when I was 10 doing that.
Deb snapped her finger off when she was rollerblading.
Right. So I'm just...
She reduced it herself in the field, so...
Oh my God. Yeah, see,
It was sideways, like major pain.
Yeah,
helps people forget how their leg is broken.
Yeah, I just feel like the chance of me really seriously hurting myself on rollerblades is very high.
Oh, she blames that break on the fact that she was wearing wrist guards, because that's where her hand snapped.
Yeah.
Because of the ridge on the side, rather than
maybe her hand would have, like, rolled or crunched a little bit.
Yeah, that's what she blames it on. And I was like, or you were feeling yourself.
Yeah, like, I fell backwards and, like, landed, like, flat, and then, like, broke my growth plate in my wrist.
That's why you're short.
That's what did it. That sealed my fate.
She has one T-Rex arm.
And then the other one is regular. Yeah. I'm kind of like one of the toys that lived in Sid's room in Toy Story. So yeah, I just
rollerblade.
Yeah, they probably could.
They did use a skateboard.
Or spider legs. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like my chance of injuring myself, even like on my road bike, I get concerned because I am afraid that, man, like one very small thing can happen, and the bike weighs like 15 pounds. Like we're both going, and
you have like a fancy pants bike.
Yeah, it's like a road bike. So it's super lightweight, and it's like if you turn your head, the thing jerks. So you really have to be like really with it when you're like really paying attention, and it just can change like so quickly, especially if you're going fast. So all I can think is, man, like one thing, and I'm gonna like break my collarbone, and then everything's gonna be a problem forever.
I think I would really, like, I have my bike from when I was a kid. It definitely needs new tires. But I think I would really enjoy just riding my bike on a trail. Mm-hmm. I don't like the idea of riding it on roads.
No, I won't. Like, I do if I take it to, like, the farmer's market or something. Part of it is on the road, but it's, like, side roads, and it's very short. But no, I'm not comfortable. And it's not even, like, I know that I'm okay riding it. I don't trust cars. And I don't trust that people are paying attention and seeing me.
I think that, so you don't trust the drivers of cars, not that you don't trust cars.
Yes. Yes. I was considering other possibilities. Yes.
Like an empty car you are not spooked by.
No, then I don't trust myself. Then I feel like I'm going to Tina Belcher it, and it's going to be like, until I hit it and yeet myself over the top of the car.
Yeah. But that's what helmets are for.
Yeah, I just, helmet's not going to, collarbone.
They have such cool helmets for kids now. Have you seen any?
Oh, yeah, like with the dinosaur.
They got like really spikes cute on them and glitter.
Yeah.
God.
Way cuter than the helmet I had.
Oh, man, our helmets.
Way cuter than the helmet I have now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a bunch of spiders live in the helmet that I have currently, so I would be getting a different one.
I have a large head, so I sometimes have problems finding properly fitting things like that. I recently bought myself a hat and had to return it because my head was too big. Despite measuring it, my head was still too big.
That's annoying.
Yeah. I was like right on the brink, with like two different size categories, and I went with the smaller one. It was a mistake. It was too small for my head. Anyway.
Garrett has a huge head, guys.
She's got a real big noggin.
Despite that small frontal cortex.
Yeah. And despite my underperforming.
Your enormous amygdala makes up for it. With that fight or flight. If you don't get that joke, then you haven't been listening to the other episodes.
Yeah, you should definitely go back and listen, because, worth it. So sometimes, like, as an adult, like, obviously adults can be restless and impatient and hyperactive in their own way. But also some of the, like, more addictive qualities, or maybe having a bad relationship with, like, over-exercising, overeating, addictions to sex, drugs, like, risky behavior, toxic productivity. Like, if you are seeking those, you're still looking for that dopamine grab.
Yeah, I see that a lot in my past when I was at my lowest weight with how much I was exercising. And we'll talk about that whole thing more when we talk about our, like, experiences with diet culture. But
yes, and we're going to do an episode about food.
Yeah.
So we'll talk
food
about
and ADHD. But yeah, there's something to be said. Like, looking back, I'm like, I cannot believe how much I was exercising. I mean, I was running at least a 5K 4 to 5 times a week.
That's wild.
And going to Orange Theory 4 to 5 times a week. And walking at lunch, because I had an hour lunch break. So I would walk a 5K.
Yeah.
Most days on my lunch break in 45 minutes. Like, the fact that I have not just crumpled into a pile of clothing is just bananas to me. Like, good job on that Got Milk campaign when we were kids, because I think that's the only reason I have bones at this point. But it was, like, like, that you say that. Like, obviously I was going into the exercise addiction end of things.
Yes.
But Yeah, that's wild. But clearly it was a dopamine rush. Because...
Right. Like you're that addictive quality.
Yeah.
And then what winds up happening is like you do all that dopamine chasing and you do all those things and then you get like overstimulated and then crash and then you're like crabby and need a nap like a toddler. It's like, and then you withdraw because now it's been like too much. You need to like balance things out and kind of step back from things.
Oh yeah. To this day, honestly, a chronic napper. I took a nap this afternoon.
I was, this afternoon I looked around and I was like, I could go for a nap. I should do that. And then I didn't.
I set a timer, which is also why I forgot.
And then I did things because of toxic positivity.
Because I set a timer and I was like, 1 hour is just enough time. I'll get a little snooze, go to the hairdresser, go to the chiropractor, go to Garrett's. And then I forgot what I was supposed to bring to Garrett's.
Every time. I do it every time.
Like on the highway, God damn it.
Can't believe I just did that. So as much as there's like people who are constantly seeking stimulation, then there's also people with ADHD who are hypersensitive and don't want to be doing things that are going to be stimulating. They're trying to understimulate themselves because and I think it's that same amygdala response. Like they're so oversensitive to everything that's coming in, which I think kind of gets you into that territory of like autism spectrum disorder, ADHD overlap. And some of the examples were like not going to busy department stores or concerts or big parties.
Oh my God, I hate concerts.
Oh, do you?
I do.
So I was always the person bringing people to concerts.
I hate them. I actually followed with Allison, who did our Birdsonas. Her and I one summer between high school and college, we followed Guster around.
Oh my God.
For like 5 or 6 of their tour dates, and ended up backstage in Vermont, like got invited backstage to their meet and greet thing without passes. It was real wild. But there was one show, I think it was in Portland, where it was just, what's it called where you don't have seats?
Standing, like the standing general admission tickets?
General admission, yeah. Ray LaMontagne was opening.
I've seen him a few times.
And we were literally at the stage, like looking up their nose holes. And I had to leave. Like I was so overwhelmed with people pushing up against me, people in front of me. Like I was like, I'm just gonna go stand in the back. Like it's just fine.
Yeah, I guess I do tend to. So like concerts aren't one for me, although I don't have the tolerance for them that I had as a teenager when I used to do it constantly. But I definitely do try and avoid situations where something's going to be super busy. Cause especially like post-COVID, I just don't want to be around that number of people.
And it is kind of hard to like think about
anything the same way.
My tolerance for anything.
Yes.
Because like the breath mint story you were telling me earlier, where somebody handed you them from his hand.
Do you want a
breath mint? Like gross before COVID, after COVID. I would probably shout, humanity. What is wrong with you?
Yes. I actually went to a concert one time. I saw the Dropkick Murphys at this really gross, scuzzy, hole-in-the-wall place where the pipe on the ceiling used to leak and drip on your head, and the toilets would overflow onto the floor. It was great.
God, it's like one of their album covers.
And I was like in the pit with one of my friends, and we were both like petite, and really it was a lot of like really rowdy, big, drunk dudes.
Yeah.
And it was getting like a little rough.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like right up front. And I used to go to these concerts and go right up next to the speaker. And I don't even want to think about the damage I have done to my hearing. I wear like those special concert earplugs now when I go. But I used to just like, I couldn't hear for days after that. So anyway, standing in the front, and somebody jumped off of one of the amps and along came Polly'd me. Like I got sweaty body and I got like kicked in the face. So this guy wound up standing. He was this huge guy, and he put his arms like on either side of us and kind of protected us like for the rest of the concert, which I was kind of off put at the time because I was like, tough, I can handle myself, as I was getting
a strong, independent woman. I don't
kicked
need
in
no
the
man.
face.
Yeah.
He's like, ma'am, I just saw you get kicked in the face. Just calm
Blood
down.
streaming out of your nose.
I'm fine. Somebody else is sweating on me and like...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that could have
groped.
gone the really gross, rapey way, or the way I think he intended it, which was just like...
And he really
these
did,
girls
like,
are way out of their depth.
Like, people were, like, definitely pushing from behind, because they were just, like, really... I mean, you have a bunch of drunk, sweaty dudes. Yeah, it was just a lot, and he really, like, kept us... So, I don't know. If this guy ever hears this, there was two little girls that you protected almost 20 years ago at a Dropkick Murphys concert. Thanks so much. So, yeah, there are people...
Excessive activity.
That don't like the overstimulation of loud concerts.
Yeah, that would be me.
Big parties.
Yeah.
And it is, I guess, like, when I think about this, it is weird that I do like concerts so much, because I tend to go towards this, I'm overly stimulated by things, and I tend to be on the hypersensitive.
And you've mentioned that several times.
Yeah. Sounds especially. So, yeah, it's just kind of funny.
Yeah. I can do better as long as I'm not in charge. Like... Like, if somebody's got, like, one of those leash backpacks for me, and I can just be tethered to them and, like, taken from place to place, it's a lot easier for me, because then I'm not trying to, like, regulate my reaction to my surroundings and manage, like, where we park, where, like, where are the exits, where's the bathrooms, this, that, and the other. So if somebody else is in charge, my tolerance threshold goes way higher.
Gotcha.
Especially if I don't have to drive somewhere.
So as long as you don't have to think, you're fine with overstimulation.
Yes.
You're like, as long as I just have to breathe. No, that's too much. Stimulate me less. Too much.
Ah!
Never mind. Now I'm in a bad mood.
I need to go into the Amazon silence cube.
It's time to go scream to the void. I've been overly stimulated by life. Life has been too much. Obviously, we know that for almost anything you read with ADHD, they're going to say medication, exercise, sleep, mindfulness are like the things to use to deal with those symptoms. And ways to, they're really ways to help your brain rest so that then you're focusing better is like ultimately like the trickle down of that. But another thing that I read specifically with restlessness and hyperactivity is green time, which literally just like time in nature.
Yeah, I read that in some things too.
And they said and I guess I started doing this I did this like backwards, like started walking and then realized that it was beneficial for ADHD.
Yeah, you hate using a treadmill.
I do. I really like being outside and getting fresh air. But walking, really being outside, allows your brain to kind of like float. So instead of constantly trying to keep myself focused or keep myself on task or, okay, what am I doing next? Okay, what am I doing with this? It allows my brain to kind of rest and just wander. And I'm not trying to make myself do anything. I'm just letting my brain it's like it's an act of rest. Mm-hmm. It's turned on and it's kind of floating along and my thoughts are trailing, but there's no point to it, I guess. So they were saying that it's great to do, especially right before you're going to focus. So like right before we started doing this, I went for a walk and then Katie got here and I had a sweat mustache because I couldn't stop sweating. So that was fun.
Turned me on. That's why I needed to hose myself off in your bathroom.
The fact that your hair was slicked back and you looked like a fetus with a sweat mustache was really attractive. And worth mentioning, chad.org, which we've mentioned 1,000 times, did have an article on green time, and they went through a list of health benefits just spending time outside. You don't even have to be doing anything. Literally just spending time outside improves short-term memory, which we know ADHD is. I mean, this is for everyone, but we know that's a problem for ADHD, that working memory. Reduce stress levels and lower levels of stress hormones, which can impact heart health and weight. Improvement in eyesight among kids, which I had no idea. Improved immune function, improvements to mental health, decreased risks for depression and anxiety, and increased natural vitamin D production, which is linked to like a whole slew of other health benefits. So ultimately, it doesn't matter what you're dealing with, just go outside.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that I do whenever we go to the Cape is especially if there's like a rainy day, I will sit on that front porch and read my book in a rocking chair for hours.
Oh yeah.
And it is one of my favorite things. Like I'll sit out there with my coffee. Like I don't care. The rocking of the rocking chair plus like just being outside.
Yep.
It is the best.
I do that in the morning a lot. On the weekends, I take my coffee on and just sit on the deck.
That is one of the biggest downsides to my current apartment is that I don't have a balcony.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's something that I would be doing a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
It's so nice in the morning. And really, like, I notice going for a walk. I really try and walk, like, during the day.
Yeah.
At work. But for sure, walking before work, it, like, completely wakes me up. Mm-hmm. I go from being, like, groggy to, like, fully awake, much more able to focus.
Yeah.
Than if I had just, like, rolled up on my desk.
Something that I've really had to also kind of reframe when it comes to exercise in general, but also the idea of, like, going for a walk is that, like, 10 minutes is sufficient.
Totally.
Like, you get the benefits, the focus benefits, the heart health benefits of just doing 10 minutes. Like,
yeah, there's no time frame on this. Like, I think the one study they mentioned was done on kids.
Yeah.
And they tested 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that was completely sufficient to, like, reset your brain, give you some, like, clarity, and let you go back to something, like, refreshed and focused. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I read, and I'm going to have to find the source. It might have been a video that I saw. He was saying there's, like, a technique for it, but you don't have, like, a set. Some people will do, okay, I'm going to work for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'm going to work for 30 minutes and a 5-minute break.
That does not work for me.
Doesn't work for me either. But he said the way
very
he
aspirational,
does it
if I
is,
can
like,
stick to that.
Changes it. So it'll be like, I'm going to work for 40 minutes, and then I'm going to take a 20-minute break. I'm going to work for 15 minutes. I'm going to take a 2-minute break. So he, like, mixes it up so that it's not this consistent set interval. But it was, like, a changing... Like, yeah, my problem is I start focusing on something, and then I don't want to step away from it.
Don't want / can't, kind of.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, both.
Like... I mean, it happens to me so often at work. It happened to me on Tuesday at work where I was, like, literally doing the pee-pee dance at my desk, like, shifting from side to side, had to pee so badly, and then I was like, okay, all I gotta do is print these envelopes, and then I gotta stuff them, and I was like, could you just go pee? Like, what is the problem?
Yes.
Like, holy hell.
Oh, yeah. I'll sit up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I have to pee. Like, I'm sweating. I'm uncomfortable. My leg's asleep. I'm like, what? It's like waking up from a coma is how it feels sometimes.
Yeah, it was just like, it cracked me up because I was like literally like dancing, like hopping from one foot to the other trying to print these envelopes. Like,
I do that all the time.
That was so urgent.
I remember when we're going to talk about, unhealthy relationships with, like, diet and exercise. At one point drinking a gallon of water a day, and I was, like, sucking down water so fast that if I waited until I had to pee to go pee, it was too late. I just always had to go. Mm-hmm. Because I would try and fit in 125 ounces of water in an 8-hour workday. Jesus. Instead of viewing it as a whole day that has a morning and an evening to it, I was like, nope, I got to do it all in 8 hours. Like, it was like somebody was challenging me to this. Nobody was challenging me.
Like, I do toxic all or nothing all the time.
Me too. Yeah.
And it's easy to
with
see,
water,
like, with water especially because, like, at work we've got the fountain there. It's very easy to fill my water bottle, and I can do it as I'm going to the bathroom. So, like, it's easy. It's also turned into a not fun game. There are no winners, but like, I can't pee until I finish the water bottle that's in my container first.
That's a bad game.
It is a terrible game, and there's no reason. Like, nobody told me that was the rule.
You need, like, a ref to come in with a whistle and be like, all right, that's enough.
Hey, you nut.
Go play a different game.
That's not a rule we have here, you lunatic.
You're the only one playing this game. Nobody wants us. Go home. Take a nap. He's like, if you heard about green time, go take a walk.
Yeah, no, it's so ridiculous, but like I catch myself doing that, and it's almost like it's that swing into the other direction of like, oh, well, in order to be efficient, rather than doing 2 trips of one to the bathroom and then a separate trip 10 minutes later to get water, it's, I'll just do all one trip. And so in order to do all one trip, I have to, be on the cusp of incontinence.
Yes. All I have to do is pee my pants on the way to the bathroom, and it'll be perfect. Then I've really waited as long as I possibly could.
And then I can use Garrett's bathroom and think I actually pissed my pants when I spray myself with water.
I was telling Katie to make her feel better that I was cleaning that toilet one time and accidentally, I'm going to say brushed up against, because it is a real hair trigger on that
literally spread my legs to wipe. Like, it wasn't like I did anything, like...
Surprise!
And the lever lifted up, which was also crazy, because I'm pretty sure I don't have hands on my love handles.
Yeah,
those little alien hands.
It shot ice cold water all the way down my hallway. Like, what's that geyser in
Old Faithful?
Yes, that's what it was. Thank you for picking up on my keywords.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I fear that bidet, and I'm pretty sure you could turn yourself into one of those fountains, like with the baby, where the water's coming out of its mouth, if that hits you the wrong way. Just right up your butt and out your mouth, because that's how it works.
Oh, that's like the colonic you were telling me about the other day.
Yeah, we're going to have to do an episode on some, like, wild health trends.
Yeah.
Because I also asked other people about this, and I kind of got the same, like, I mean, maybe it was on TV once.
Yeah, I have no recollection, but I also didn't have cable for most of my childhood, so...
Maybe that's...
I'm
gonna
very plausible that I missed it, but...
Hey, if you remember any... stories or TV shows with these like pseudo celebrities on VH1 or MTV, like early 2000s, where they were talking about colonics and going and getting their fucking poop sucked out at a spa, please send us an email at thebarsanklehi@gmail.com and confirm that I'm not crazy, or that I am.
Or also, if you could please, if you've ever tried any of these faddish diets or cure-alls for weight or whatever, and had a wildly embarrassing experience, if you could send that story into us at...
Tell us about your anal leakage.
thebarsanklehi@gmail.com. I would love to hear those stories, because I've for sure made mistakes. I don't know that I've never tried like a skinny tea or anything like that. But I think I just didn't try it out of spite, because the Kardashians were like peddling it, and I was like, fuck them, I don't want them to get my money.
Yes, which is why I keep putting things from Skims in my cart and then deleting them.
Fair.
Adding it and then changing my mind.
That's why I actually just got another Yiddy delivery.
Oh, did you? Yiddy, sponsor us.
Oh Lizzo. My God, Lizzo, please be my friend.
Please.
I'm not cool enough, but I want to know you.
We will literally say whatever you want in those ads.
Yeah. Well, I'll suspend all ethics.
There is no price.
Yeah.
So, really, we'll do anything. Only for Lizzo, though. This is not like a general rule.
This is not for, especially men.
No. Don't even don't joke. Don't even joke about it, because then I'm just going to get mad at you, to be honest. So, really, 6 feet. Just socially distance yourself, and then everything's fine.
Unless you're Henry Cavill or Chris Evans.
There is a list. There is a list of people that are not, but, I got to play hard to get. I can't tell them that they're
in general
on the list.
Just assume that you're not on the list.
Yes.
I think that's a good men in particular.
Yes. Well, that's it for me.
Cool.
That's it for my excessive activity, restlessness, hyperactivity, toxic.
That was good. I learned a lot. I didn't realize that not liking concerts was a sign of excessive activity.
Or hypersensitivity, at least.
Yeah, no. Because I've always considered myself to be very emotionally even, generally speaking. Like, I'm pretty good at rolling with the punches. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's not me, blah, blah, blah. I don't cry too often.
Is it like the day that I found out that lines making my skin crawl, having to wait in line? Was it like that revelation? Because...
Similar. Yeah.
That revelation almost made me crawl out of my skin, ironically.
Yeah.
So, turns out we've learned a lot about ourselves in this process.
Let us know what you've learned about yourself.
Yes, I would love to hear some feedback. See if anybody else is experiencing some of the same things that we are now, in retrospect, piecing together and are horrified by.
Be sure to come back next Thursday for more hot goss on this topic.
And clearly our meanderings, because we were really bad at staying on topic today.
Yeah, today was... The meds did not hit for me today.
No, and I'm continuing to raw dog life, so here we are.
But you can always, email us your topic suggestions, and I make sure to reply to everybody on social media who's not a bot. So leave us your comments. Tag us when you listen to your screenshots. Tag us in your screenshots, and we'll share them to our page.
Tell your friends.
Definitely tell your friends.
About this super funny, charming, delightful new podcast that you found. And remember, be kind. Nope.
That's already in the outro.
Oh, shit. That's right. Forget it.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be here next Thursday with a brand new episode to delight your brain juices. Until then, the best way to support us is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and like and subscribe wherever you listen. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Bar is Ankle High. And if you want to help us grow the podcast even more, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh. Patreons get exclusive Patreon-only episodes, monthly horoscopes written by yours truly, and access to our secret members-only Facebook group, as well as added to our close friends list on Instagram. We have a lot of fun over there, and we would love for you to join us. Until next week, remember to be kind to yourself, because the bar is ankle high.